Well, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny is here. Let's talk about it. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Movie Emporium's movie review of Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, the newest film from director James Mangold. So just to let you know, this is a non-spoiler review for this film. I will keep it as spoiler-free as possible. Just to let you know, I may do a spoiler review at some point. I'm not entirely sure. So at this point, it's non-spoiler. So in this fifth and final film for Harrison Ford in the Indiana Jones franchise, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny once again sees Harrison Ford back as Indiana Jones. And he is on a quest to find the dial that was once created by Archimedes. And in the process, he is trying to not only keep it from the hands of the bad guys, which of course are played by Mikkelsen and Boyd Holbrook, but he's also having to contend with his goddaughter, who is the daughter of his friend, who is played by Toby Jones, and she of course is played by Phoebe Waller-Bridge. And it basically becomes a quest to stop the bad guys, as most Indiana Jones movies do, from retrieving the dial and creating chaos in this world that is Indiana Jones. And so for this fifth film, they travel across the world, characters that even though are beloved come back into the mix, and it becomes a quest to stop the bad guys and all that good stuff. So very much an Indiana Jones film. So this fifth film in the Indiana Jones franchise has been in development for a long time, since the advent of course Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. It's a film that was one time was supposed to be directed by Steven Spielberg, but because of things that happened, because of course the Lucasfilm was purchased by of course Disney, things just didn't work out. It just, whatever it is, Steven Spielberg went on to do a billion other things. And so this film was kind of one of those films that was gestating throughout the years. And at some point, people like James Mangold were brought on board because Steven Spielberg was off doing like West Side Story. People like Jez Butterworth and John Henry Butterworth, who of course did like Edge of Tomorrow, stuff like that, were brought on board with David Koepp to write the script. And of course, this was a film that was going to be the last film for Harrison Ford because he's getting up there in age and doesn't feel like he can do this role anymore. So it was kind of like a send-off to this film. So on top of everything, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull was not a very well-received film. It's pretty terrible, to be fairly honest. So the hope that James Mangold and crew and the writing staff and his producing staff and so on and so forth, which includes like Frank Marshall and Kathleen Kennedy, could bring this franchise back into the golden realm that it was at one point in its like legacy of the 40 plus years that's been around. And so with that said, I was highly anticipating this movie. I love James Mangold. I think Logan's one of the best comic book movies ever made. I think Ford v Ferrari is really good. I think James Mangold is just a very talented director. When it comes to a film like this, there is a lot of worry that the film's not going to deliver. And with Harrison Ford's age, it becomes almost like, can he make this character still work at the ripe old age of 79 to 80 years old? And on top of everything, it's just like, okay, so what is this movie going to be? And it premiered at Cannes. It didn't get very good reviews. It's gotten pretty mixed reviews since. And I got to see this movie a day or so before the release of the actual film. So do you find yourself out there in the world trying to find a book to read? Everything is not speaking to you. You want to find something a little more over the top and crazy and silly, unlike the typical tropey books that are out today. Well, personally, I found a book just for you. This book, which is called J.R. Castillo Comes Home, which is written by Johnny A. Mann, is a story of a writer from that comes back to his hometown. He's a noir writer, and he tries to get back with his high school crush, as well as dealing with a serial killer in his hometown. And as you expect, if you read Johnny A. Mann's material before, it's over the top, it's silly, it's graphic, and it's a lot of fun because there's a lot of heart and inventiveness put into it. But it's also a book that, is unique for its own right, and it's a book that I definitely recommend. If you read anything else that he's written, it's something that you might find fun, you might find entertaining, and I highly recommend it. So, definitely check it out. It's currently on Barnes & Noble's online retail store. But once again, that is J.R. Castillo Comes Home, which is written once again by Johnny A. Mann. And it's a book that I highly recommend. So definitely check it out, and we'll see you soon. Bye, guys. And so with my honest review, this movie's not good. This movie's really not good. It's on par with Kingdom of the Crystal Skull when it comes to the baffling nature of what I just experienced. This movie really did not need to happen. I appreciate them trying to make a more in line with the original film Indiana Jones, But Harrison Ford is really out of place in this film for a film that's based off his character that he stars in. I think it's a story that just doesn't make any sense. It delves into like the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull territory where it's very outlandish. It's very stupid. It's very just, what are they thinking? And it's a movie that just really doesn't deliver on its premise and its excitement that you were hoping for, at least from the trailers. And that's just a shame because I expected so much from this film, especially who was involved with it, like James Mangold, who really seems like he could do action. And I don't know what fell through with this movie. I know there was like a lot of rewrites for this film and what it was going to do. But I think the first part of this movie, the prologue, the prologue of the film is actually quite good. I think some of the stuff in the prologue is a little wonky, but I think overall it feels like an Indiana Jones film. It's just when it gets into the Indiana Jones of like the 80 years old or however old he is in this film, and then you bring in Phoebe Waller-Bridge, who's very talented, and she just doesn't really add anything of interest or intrigue to this film. I don't think she's very good in the film, to be fairly honest. She's somebody that is out for profit, and I think the character is just so poorly written, and then she has a sidekick that's just like so out of left field and just so weird. It's like you don't bring back Short Round, the character Ke Quan played, but you bring in this character that just has like the weirdest like turn at the end of this movie. And you know, it's a movie with a lot of weird structural problems and just a lot of weird action problems. The action is not very good. It's actually quite boring, which is what most of this movie is. It is not well shot. It feels like unfocused in a lot of respects. And I felt like I was watching almost like a fan film of an Indiana Jones film. You know, there's points where they use the de-aging technology, as you see in the trailer, and the voice work from Harrison Ford himself doesn't match the young Indiana Jones you're seeing, and that's a real problem, to be fairly honest. And that's what this movie's main focus and problem is. It's just not a very entertaining film, but the action set pieces are just like I couldn't follow any of it. It wasn't interesting. They're bringing like side characters that just don't really have any purpose or uniqueness. They just feel like they're thrown in there to add a little bit of like, you know, kind of structure or something like that, or a little bit of like, you know, road blocking or whatever. It's just, that's what this movie's main problem is. It's just very boring, very rote, just very meandering movie with a lot of weirdness to it. And I feel like, you know, once again, Indiana Jones is very much sidelined for a lot of this movie, and just, I never felt anything for his character at all. And on top of everything, like The Matrix Resurrections, this is a film that once again, I just didn't feel like it needed to be made. I don't feel like Kingdom of the Crystal Skull needed to be made. I think this is almost feels like a cash grab, trying to close out a character that really didn't need a closure because he already had a closure in The Last Crusade. And it just, this movie is so weird and so off-putting in a lot of respects. And then they bring in characters like Sala, the John Rhys-Davies character, and they give him nothing to do. He's just there as like a callback, which I've talked about it before, and this happened in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I don't mind callbacks if they have a purpose or they have a sensibility, but when you throw in John Rhys-Davies, who has major purpose to this franchise, and you just kind of give him that, I just don't care. I just don't feel anything for that. And on top of everything, you know, it's just a very ugly looking movie. I don't know. It's a very weird kind of thing to watch and very sad thing to watch this movie just portray on screen and everything. And on top of everything, these bad guys in this movie who, you know, I love Mads Mikkelsen, I love Boyd Holbrook and stuff like that. I don't feel like they're given anything. There's no dimension to their characters. They're just kind of there. They seem to show up whenever, and they feel like they don't have no structural purpose. And when their purpose comes into the fold, it's so laughably bad. It's just like, oh my God, what is happening here? And just everything about them and Indy and character that is called Wombat, which is the Phoebe Waller-Bridge character. None of it works. It's kind of sad. Like I said, I really like the first prologue of this movie. The action is fine. But the main problem with this movie is definitely not John Williams' score, which is amazing, is that third act, which you've heard about and I'm sure you've read about, is so baffling that it almost makes Kingdom of the Crystal Skull look like Citizen Kane. And I know people may not like Citizen Kane, but you know where I'm going with this. I'm not going to spoil what happens, but the idea of the MacGuffin, the idea how it connects to the third act, The MacGuffin's interesting, as they always are in these movies. I think they are much better than they are given credit for when it comes to that. But unlike the three MacGuffins in the first three films, the alien technology and the dial are not used very well, to be fairly honest, are MacGuffins that are not plotted out very well. And on top of everything, once you get to that third act, and you'll know it coming from a mile away, almost feels like they reshot it for something completely different from what it was completely different from. And from everything I've heard about that third act, I almost feel like this was a thing that got test screened, and they're like, it got poorly received, and they're like, okay, so we need to change it. And they made it something so bafflingly stupid and something so uncharacteristic for Indiana Jones that it felt stupid, to be fairly honest. It ruins the movie and grinds it to an already boring halt that I was already bored by. And I feel like it was almost just kind of a showstopper when it came to how do you not make a third act work. And I just like, whew, okay, if you're going to go there, I guess, sure. And it's sad that's how you close out Indy's kind of journey in this franchise. It's like, you know, Rise of Skywalker or something like that. It just, I don't know what they were thinking. I don't know why they thought this was a good ending. And in the end, it's not a good movie. It's probably going to be in my dishonorable mentions. If not, probably maybe, I mean, I will see if it gets my top 10 worst of the year. But it's for something I was really anticipating that really had potential, being directed by James Mangold and the writing staff and the crew that is involved with this movie. It just... this movie's bad. Movie's real bad, and I don't know what else to say. So that's where I'm gonna land. I noticed that movie has several problems with like COVID and stuff like that, and just a lot of issues. And yeah, that's Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny for you. So there you go. I'm really sad by this, to be fairly honest. I hope Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1 doesn't do what this film does and delivers on the goods that I hope it does. So with that said, it's an unfortunate thing for Dial of Destiny to come out as the last Indiana Jones Harrison Ford film. So with that said, that'll do it. That'll be my take. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. Comments below. You know, it's Indiana Jones, so what's your favorite Indiana Jones moment? What's your favorite Indiana Jones movie? Just let me know something about Indiana Jones that you like or dislike, all that good stuff. But without further ado, thank you so much. If you like what you see on the channel, hit the subscribe button to join Movie Emporium. Hit that notification bell, top the fun's coming next. If you like this video, awesome. Hit that like button, and as always, we'll see you guys on the next video. Peace out.